Okay, in this video I'm going to show you a quick example of a hamstring isometric exercise that's going to allow you to not only have stronger hamstrings but get strength through expanded ranges of motion. Now this would essentially be a strategy we would use in phase one of the Not Really Yoga system, and I might show you some of the ways that we'll kind of progress that through the system as well. But typically what most people will do in a hamstring isometric is use it in this kind of straight leg position, which we know as we come forward we're going to get some load on the hamstring here, and then we can use the isometric to not only get stronger through that range but to also help to extend our range of motion. What I want to look at here is how can we target the hamstring in or different areas of the hamstring, but also put it in more of a position where it's more applicable to the way we might use the hamstring and normally be limited by our range of motion. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this here because the bench is a little bit higher for me to do this, but I'm going to bring the foot into this sort of position here. Now obviously now we have a bent knee, so generally we don't see this kind of bent knee position as loading the hamstring too much in terms of the flexibility or creating a tensile load. So in some regard we need to create that. So firstly let's find how we're going to get some tensile load or some stretch on the hamstring. And in order to do that with a bent knee, we need to bring the hip into an anterior tilt. So if you come into this position with your foot up on a platform, step, bench, whatever, and start to anteriorly tilt the pelvis and come forward, you're going to start to feel this quite high up on the hamstring. So sometimes even if we also start to straighten the leg and come back a little bit too, you'll start to feel it. But we're looking to maybe to target the hamstring, not so much at the knee, but further up in the muscle here. Next thing we want to think about is targeting not only the different muscles in the hamstrings, but also in different planes of motion. So if I look to come into this position here, find that load, and if I turn my foot out, you'll start to feel different parts of the hamstrings loading or different muscles loading as well. So we keep that in mind. Let's look at how we'll apply the isometric here. So we might come into this position and first hold a stretch for a minute or so. And to get the isometric, what I want to do is dig my heel into the bench here in somewhat of a curling motion to activate the hamstring. So it's always good to put your hand under the hamstring here and see if you can feel that contract there. So if you want to get even more range of motion through this, you might look to drop the hip a little bit more. You might look to send the hip back, but remember we do also want to find that tilt in the pelvis. So I'm going to drive down and I can feel my hamstrings activating quite hard here. Initially what you do is hold that for around 10 seconds or so. So I'll do 10-second hard contraction and then relax. Now what I'm going to do is turn my toes out on an angle, contract again, and you're going to feel that move towards the lateral hamstrings, the outer hamstrings here. If I come back to center, and then if I move the toe in a bit, and especially now if I turn my chest towards the left a bit, I got my right foot up, I'm going to now feel that tension as I drive the heel in towards me on that inside hamstring. So the point I want to make here is that not only can we look at isometrics in more of a functional position, we can also target exactly where we want to feel that muscle engaging there. So I think this is probably more practical for a lot of people and coming into these sort of positions. They're still great, just like deadlifts is still a great exercise, working through these sagittal plane motions eccentrically and whatnot are still great things to do, but I think we can also think about them a little bit differently to see how we can also allow these things to cross over a little bit better into the things that we do on a daily basis, whether that's sport or whatever. If you want to hear more about the Not Really Yoga system and stay tuned with a lot of these ideas I'm going to be throwing around, please subscribe, like, share, do all of that stuff, and I will see you